Could I date a man who's older than me, more than 3 years? Yes. The asterisk comes is, it depends on how much money he has. And then that is when I could say yes for sure. And I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. Because if he doesn't have a lot of money, then I wouldn't. But if he does have money, then that helps the situation a bit. And that goes for younger as well. Typically, no for younger men. But if he had money, it's a different conversation.
Anissa, you just rip up your feminist card right
guys,
now.
You
take it and you burn it, and then you throw the ashes in the bin. And I'm Sophie Hannah, and I want to welcome you to episode 16 of Ethnically Speaking. We are three smart, curious and opinionated, highly melanated women who represent the United Kingdom, and we are going to be talking about everything and anything that affects our communities, from current affairs to pop culture and everything in between. Nothing is off limits, and we promise to keep it 100% real with you 100% of the time. So forget tiptoeing around issues and technically speaking, because today we're ethnically speaking. And first up is Lawanda. What you got for us, girl?
Okay, so this is a little bit of a sensitive topic because it's still ongoing. But as most of us know, on March 13th, Breonna Taylor was killed by 3 police officers in her own home. The city has given her family a settlement of $12 million. However, the grand jury have recently decided that they're not going to directly charge the officers that were responsible for her death. And of course, we've all seen the protests that have been a result of that decision. So I wanted to ask you if you think that financial settlement actually is justice.
I don't know. This topic is just a heavy one. With everything that's going on with Breonna. And personally, I think it depends on the crime, if I'm going to be honest. So if we're talking about someone stealing your car, or you're let go from your job and it's around some murky circumstances, then a financial payout does give some sort of justice. So if your car's stolen, you get your insurance back, it can do some sort of justice because it can replace what has been lost. When it comes to certain crimes like murder, sexual assault, if something goes wrong in a medical surgery, for me, even though you can get a massive payout, it doesn't bring justice. A lot of times you can't give back, you can't replace, you can't make something as it was before the crime was committed. So I think that this payout, I think it feels like it was given to kind of maybe silence people and be like, okay, look, here's some money, but she still isn't coming back. So I think it really cheapens the life that was taken.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Sophie. I feel like whenever money's involved, I think we notoriously know that money's used as a cover-up for things. So I feel like whenever they want to give you money in light of justice, it's just really like hush money. Like, I can't explain it. So for me, there are certain circumstances, like you've said, Sophie, maybe like something happened at work or something where it's like, okay, maybe the money's better to take in this situation. But for me, whenever it's something that's like a violent crime, I definitely think that it should be justice over money. Just because for me, it's not even about like, oh, things I could do with the money. It's more like, this person we know is dangerous. They need to be locked up so that they're not going to do this again to somebody else. Like, that's the whole part for me. So sometimes, like, when I've seen people sue instead of criminally pursue the person, I've never particularly understood. I've always been baffled. Like, why wouldn't you just try to get them criminally charged? Why are you getting I've never personally understood it. But then when I was looking into what Breonna Taylor's mum is doing, she's still trying to pursue them criminally. So I thought, okay, well then there's a way that you can do it. But I personally don't think money ever helps give justice at all. Period.
Right. I think it's also definitely necessary to highlight the fact that the money is paid for by the taxpayers. and not the actual police department who were responsible for her death.
Yeah.
And personally, I struggle to have a conversation about whether or not settlements, financial settlements, are justice, because like I struggle with the idea that these institutions as they stand are able to serve justice within an unjust system, you know?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
With their laws?
I mean, okay, so this is where I'm at right now. You know, when I was growing up, I never really could get my head around the idea of cages for people or anything living. And so now coming into my young adulthood, I actually think I'm leaning towards the idea of abolishing the police. And I say that because, so initially those words made me think of chaos, you know, that made me think immediately I'd reject those words. But as I learn more about it, I understand that it wouldn't be overthrowing police stations overnight and freeing everyone from prison overnight. It would actually be a gradual change, and it would be more about redistributing funds towards community-based frameworks for prevention and safety. And it would be a focus on restorative justice and getting to the roots of why people do these crimes in the first place. So it's not surprising to me that the same system, like we're not able to hold these officers accountable in the same system that empowered them to do this initially. So I really feel like we just need to look at something entirely different.
Okay. And I think it's important to point out that Luanda hasn't gone rogue here. Abolishing the police is a thing that a lot of people are saying should be done at the moment. I know Angela Davis, famous revolutionist, you know, she speaks about these things, and she says she's one person for actually abolishing the police rather than defunding, where defunding the police, at least in America, they're talking about taking away some of their resources and using them into community things such as, well, instead of having the police respond to mental health breakdown, why don't social workers or social services go and deal with that rather than police? And if we take away some of that money, we can put it into other services who can also meet these, not even crimes sometimes, local disturbances or civil unrest, they can meet these instead. So I think that debate is a very interesting one in the light of what's going on with Breonna Taylor. And I think specifically, I was very firmly at first when thinking about this, justice can't be met through money. But then I saw an interview that Breonna Taylor's lawyer gave, and it was on BBC. They had a snippet of it, and she was just saying, justice for Breonna is multi-layered. And it made me think that justice always is. And she talked about criminal justice and civil justice, which is the kind of money that's been given out is kind of like for a civil suit or a civil case. Yeah. And she was it made me think that there are kind of three ways to kind of deal with justice when reading up on this. There's criminal justice, so making sure that people are held accountable. That's what criminal justice is for, to make sure that people serve time or there is some sort of recompense for breaking the law. Number two, reforms, because the point is, even if we locked away these police officers, and we still had the systems in place that allowed it to happen. So no knock search warrants. If those are still in place, it's just going to happen again. So there needs to be some sort of reform. And in terms of the money, it made me think about, actually, if someone in your family was hurt, killed, how would that affect your family financially? What about if someone can't go to work? What about if someone has to take more time off fighting the justice system as her family has? Chances are it's going to affect your daily wage and all of these things. And it allows the family to kind of make up. Or funerals. Funerals are expensive as wedding nowadays. Like, those costs have to be met. And if the people don't have the money, even for the court case, like the lawyers work pro bono and they're taking a percentage of the 12 million. So I think that there's various ways to mete out justice, but I don't think money is the only one. And to be honest, I can't say because I'm not in that position, but I think from an outside perspective, money doesn't seem like the most important one.
No, I definitely agree with you. And I think it has to go hand in hand. Like, if it was me personally, yes, it would be great to have the money and I could use that, you know, to hire better lawyers and be able to push prison reform and maybe pull together protests, etc., etc. I could use the money for the other resources. However, for me, it's like if I got the money, but I never got the criminal justice, it would feel a bit like in vain for me. Like I don't know how to make that make sense. It would just feel in vain to me that there's an acknowledgement that something wrong happened here. So much so that you gave $12 million. Nobody just had $12 million.
Important to point out, the $12 million was given and they made sure that they wrote into it, but we are not taking any responsibility. And this is not because we have done anything wrong. And that's just a button, because I think it's so underhand. Because why would you pay 12 million if something didn't go wrong?
I've never paid $12 million to someone because I did something right ever in my life. And I don't know if I ever would, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so for me, that's why I felt like the whole thing again, when people give money, it's this hush thing, because it's like, we know we did something wrong, but you know what? We're not really going to do anything about it. But here's some money to kind of satisfy whatever it is. Yeah. So I really hope the family continues pushing this criminally and not letting it go, because I think these people really want to let this go. That is what I will say. And I'll say that because now it's becoming like they're trying to move the narrative away from Breonna Taylor and her family to like everyone's doing these violent protests, and now we've got to make sure everyone's curfewed because they're gonna like go crazy, everyone in the area. And it's just like, no, people are upset because there's been injustice, and you know that people are going to be upset about the injustice. So now you're trying to spin the narrative. So it just reads guilty all over for me. I can't.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about the hush money situation, because I think for me, I don't think that George Floyd's killers would have been charged if it wasn't so globalized, if the case wasn't so globalized. And the same with Breonna Taylor. It is just because they want this to die down. But it doesn't make sense to me to put the responsibility of solving a problem within the same system that created the problem to begin with. And I think someone just said something about dying in vain. And I just think that we need to stop pretending as if these are individual issues, and as if, okay, we can say Breonna Taylor, we can say George Floyd's, we can name however many people who have died here as well in the UK, but it's part of a bigger system. It's part of an institution that was never created to protect us initially. And I think the settlements are necessary for the families. And it actually reminded me of the case of the exonerated five, who were five boys in New York who were coerced by the police when they were children and wrongfully sentenced for an assault that they didn't commit. And their settlement was historical, like how Breonna Taylor's is as well. Yeah. But months later, they actually sued the city again for further damages. And one of the men who was wrongfully imprisoned said that once you come out of prison, there are no systems in place to transition you back into society. And we really need to pay attention to that, because if we believe in the way that everything is working right now, okay, if we believe in crime and punishment as it stands, you do a crime, your punishment is jail. But if you've committed the crime and your punishment is jail, should you not then be able to live a separate life after you've come out of jail? Like there are so many studies that point to the belief that people who commit crimes don't have their basic needs met, don't have their basic needs met as a human. But once you're in jail, there are no systems in place that help you explore what that meant for you. And so for me, because there are people who are wrongfully imprisoned, and like I said, I'm leaning towards I don't really believe in prisons in general at the moment. I think we can have definitely better options. But if there are people in jail, and if there are criminals that you've decided that you want to put in jail, you are not actually solving the problem, because you're not getting to the root of the problem. You're just moving it. You're moving it from our society into a jail. And you can still commit crime in jail. How does this...
A lot of crime.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is that prisons were supposed to be a place of rehabilitation, and they're not. And I personally think when you see like 13th, a documentary done by Ava DuVernay, that there's so much big business in prisons, because who's going to provide all the meals and the pillowcases and the clothes and the this and that? And once money comes in now, it's no longer about rehabilitation. It's about the more bodies we have in here, the more money can be met. And I think that's what is one of the biggest problems with prisons. I'm not one for abolishing the police. I think I'm probably more on the side of defund. But I think in terms of like talking about the justice element again, I just think about Breonna Taylor's family have the money. Justice isn't done, but what about the public and the community? Like, what effect does not giving justice have on them? Because how are they supposed to rebuild trust in the system? How are they supposed to have faith in their community? The thing is, no, I don't think there was ever trust in the system. But if we start thinking about, actually, let's start making these laws applicable to everybody and not saying that police, what it seems like, are exempt, then in order to do that, you're going to have to start holding them accountable. If you
100%.
start convicting police officers for crimes such as this, it will start to build further trust. It's not going to rebuild it, but people are going to start to say, actually, the system's there and the system works. But what we're seeing now, if people continue to process, is like people have just lost faith. And that's what happens when people aren't given justice. And I think that's what makes me so upset with the Breonna Taylor. And at the beginning, I spoke about if someone steals your car or breaks into your home and you get insurance and money, some of it can repay. But a lot of times there are things that cannot be repaid by money, by your sense of security, your sense of self-worth, all these things that crime takes from people. If your car is broken into or your bag is stolen, you might feel like, I don't feel safe to walk down the street anymore. And even if you get money back, it's not going to take away that feeling. So I think we have this preoccupation with money that we feel like money heals all things in society. So if we give money,
does not.
Exactly, but it doesn't.
Because the things that we're asking for aren't money. We're just asking for basic human rights.
Exactly.
And I feel like there's no price tag attached to that.
Well, obviously it's too high, Anissa. That's the problem.
Clearly.
It's too high.
Sophie, you were just saying something about how, it seems that the police are exempt from being held accountable the same way that civilians would be. But we know that that is actually not the issue that we're looking at, because there was a man who was an Asian man who accidentally shot and killed a white woman, and his story was a lot more accidental than the Breonna Taylor or, how intentional George Floyd's situation was. He was actually in a car and he thought he was being attacked, and he shot he fired not knowing what was coming out of the car, and accidentally killed a person whilst he was on a case with his partner. And he was sentenced to, I might be incorrect, but I think it was 25 years. So that's a brown man killing a white woman, and he's a police officer. So he should have been able to have all of the same tired excuses that we use for everyone else when they say they were just doing their jobs, it was self-defense, they were in fear. In that case, it actually made sense to use those excuses. However, he went to jail. And then you said something about justice being served. And I think this is the issue that we have. We need to reimagine what we see as justice, because we're looking at punishment instead of looking at the roots of the problems, because healthy people don't make these choices. So we need to...
I understand that, Anissa, but I think that when you're talking about... Luanda, sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so in my thought process.
Don't worry, it's fine.
I think
you both have a ponytail today.
It's true. We're wearing yellow. We get it.
All black people look the same.
I'm waiting for your joking, Sophie. So that's what I'm literally waiting for.
That was a joke. If you don't know, it was a joke. It was a joke. For people who can't actually, people who are listening.
On the podcast,
exactly, on the podcast. That was a joke.
It was a joke.
No, Sophie's black.
The thing is, we are both in ponies and have a bit of yellow on today, but it's just pure coincidence. That is all.
No. Look, I think what I'm saying is that I think if prisons were a place of rehabilitation, so I agree with you that what the system kind of is doing now isn't working. But I'm talking about, sometimes I think some people do need to be taken away from society from a period of time. I don't think every paedophile, every murderer, every rapist, I think to just say that we're going to keep them in society and just kind of work on them somewhere else, I think sometimes there is a time that needs to be taken away in order to work on them. And if prison was a rehabilitation, if people were being worked on and getting the skills that they need to in order to be worked back into society, I think it would be a very different conversation.
Okay, so Sophie, this is exactly why I said as I learn more about it, my mind changes, because I had that exact same mentality. Like I said earlier, the first time you hear those words like abolishing the police, it sounds like chaos. It sounds like, what's that horror movie? What's the horror movie?
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. The Purge, when they're 24 hours without any police. Yeah, I knew which one you meant.
It sounds like it's going to be The Purge. But actually, that's not the case. It doesn't mean that if you commit a crime, it's like, well, friend, let's have a healing circle and then just send you back out tomorrow. It's not going to be that. You will actually have people who respond to these things. People who are trained in mental health and trained in trauma and trained in crisis and trained in self-defense, instead of someone just showing up with a gun and firing 16 blind shots into the dark and just being like, oh, well, that Black woman body is collateral damage. There is so many other ways that we can do this. You might have to, take someone out of society to heal them, but it's not going to be to throw them into a cage with a lot of other people who maybe also don't deserve to be there. And then when they come out, they're more damaged than when they went in. That doesn't make sense. That has not been working.
I understand that, but I think the time away, maybe prison is the wrong term, because for me, I'm talking about rehabilitation. When you think of prison, it has a connotation of bars, somewhere cold, somewhere where people aren't being able to shower every single day. And I know someone who that was the case for, who went to prison. They had like showers like a couple times a week. They couldn't even have it every day. So that is realistic. What I'm saying is, there needs to be some time taken away. So if we're saying the same thing on that front,
that's
fine.
exactly what I'm saying, Sophie. That's
I'm saying the same thing, guys.
I'm saying we're agreeing. I'm saying we're agreeing.
Same thing. But you know what I want to say just very quickly that's very interesting is that in America, a lot of their prisons are actually called correctional facilities, but they actually don't do any correction at all.
Yes,
and I think, and it's so crazy to me, because there is an idea that these people do need help, but no one's helping them. I just find it so crazy.
Yeah, and they'll probably receive more abuse when they're in there as well.
The correctional facilities are crazy.
Yeah.
And then all the restrictions when you come out and you can't get a job and you can't vote. But guys, we could talk all day about this. We could talk all day about this.
Let's not get into it.
I know, it's hard. It's definitely difficult to talk about, justice for Breonna Taylor when the real justice would be if it didn't happen in the first place. But on to the lighter side of pop culture, singer Gwen Stefani recently posted a photo of her and her current boyfriend, Blake Shelton. However, fans were very quick to point out that this was a picture of her with her ex-husband, and she actually just cropped her current boyfriend's face where her ex-husband's was. So, do you think you should delete all traces of your ex on social media? And would you ask the person that you're dating to delete pictures of their ex?
Gwen Stefani is a boss.
Let me tell you that.
She's a boss out here.
Let me tell you about Gwen, honey. She ain't no hollow back girl. I love it. Let me tell you that. That is my Gwen. Listen, I live for some Mr. Stefani, honey. So sorry, to answer your question, Luan. I think in a breakup, you have to do whatever's right for you. So if it is removing every trace of that person, whether it be pictures of them on Instagram or pictures of them around in your house, then, do what you need to do, boo, to get over the person. That's fine. Now, for the second part, would I tell my partner to get rid of pictures of his ex on his social media? I have to be honest, I'm just going to say no. I'm not that panini pressed. I don't really care that much. You can have as many pictures of you and your ex. I'm not panini pressed like that. You can have as many pictures of you and your ex on your social media, because for me, that was like a part of your story at one point, and now I've picked you up in a different chapter, and I can't be upset at what was going on before. And actually, sometimes I might be crazy in saying this, but sometimes it's nice to know that somebody has experienced love before and has experienced love so deeply. I actually find it quite nice. I don't know why, but I really like it. So sometimes seeing those pictures, like, wow, you really loved her.
Well,
that was good.
But Anissa,
yeah, I honestly like that. That's what I just think. I like it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not fussed.
How deep would your ex's pictures be allowed to go? Like, what about if it's the ones when they're kissing at the Eiffel Tower?
This is what
and
I'm
they're
saying.
like, she's sitting on his lap, rubbing him down, and he's got his arms wrapped.
You know the pictures
all
that
of them? You're okay with all the pictures?
They could be busting it down in the pictures, and I'd say, wow, she was really giving it. And I would not care. It doesn't mean anything to me because it's in the past. I can't be upset about it. And like, I'm really not that fussed. And also, I've already said on this show before, I'm not one for having my partner on social media or even like looking at it. So I wouldn't even have your social media or even be on your social media like that to even see what you were doing, if I'm honest. I'm not fussed like that. Sorry, unpopular opinion.
No, I think it's a great opinion. I just can't relate.
I don't think it's an unpopular opinion. Like, for me, I don't think I would probably ever be in this position until now that I'm married, because when I was dating guys, I would never put pictures of them up. And that was mainly because I'm like, if this don't work out, I don't want to go through the public embarrassment of having to take down all the pictures. But I've been thinking about it this week, and I think that there's actually something wrong with how we do things as a society, because most people, or I'm sure maybe you guys have seen with your friends, when the relationship ends, they literally delete all the pictures, all the traces are gone. And I think we put so much pressure on couples. Like, I'm not going to lie, the pictures that I put up with my husband are the ones that get the most like on my social media. And it always surprises me because sometimes I don't think it's the best picture, but we were out somewhere, we had a good time, and I wanted to post it. Do you know what I mean? So for me, because, you know, some people react to your social media, you're like, oh, people really like that one. I would have liked that one. So people seem to really like couples. They put couples on a pedestal. People be like, oh, you're couple goals, you and him and this and that. And then people then feel the weight of this pressure. And when the relationship doesn't work out, there's a sense of embarrassment. And I'm like, they really shouldn't be, because you're going to be in more unsuccessful relationships than successful relationships. That's the point.
That's so true. That's just
I agree, Sophie.
And things end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things end. So we shouldn't have to feel a sense of shame in taking it down. But currently, it's kind of this a stigma attached to your relationship not working out, like it's a failure. And I'm like, it's not. It's just life.
Yeah.
I'm with you, girl.
I think there's also, for me, there's like a difference between memories and statements. Because I think if it's, you know, if it's in your camera roll, there's no need, because like you said, you're going to be in more unsuccessful relationships than successful ones. And we end romantic relationships, but we also end platonic friendships. And I'm not going to delete pictures of my camera roll of my friends or ex-partners or anything like that, because it's something that happened. It's something that we both enjoyed. It was a time period where we both loved each other, so I don't see the issue. The difference is when it's on social media is that it is a current statement of your status, basically. And I had this friend who was in a relationship, and the relationship, you know, when you have a friend who's in a relationship that really just needs to end, like it really just needed to end.
No, I support all of my friends' relationships wholeheartedly. I just want to say that, guys.
This relationship needed to end. These people weren't doing anything positive for each other, but obviously it'd been a couple of years, and they didn't. It's not easy to let go of your love when it's been, you know, 3-4 years of a relationship. But they were at the point where they were like, break up, make up, break up, make up, break up, make up. And like I said, they just weren't doing anything positive for each other, causing more harm than good. And the most recent breakup, which was the final one, she was pressed because he deleted the pictures of them on Instagram so that she knew it was for real, when all the other times she could just make up again and then continue to do the things that would cause him to break up with her, and then make up and blah, blah, blah. But the pictures went, and she was pressed and she was panicking because she knew that this was for real. And then she tried to post a photo of them together, and it was a very cute, intimate photo of them in bed together.
After he'd already deleted the pictures.
Yeah,
that's me.
Societal pressure, because the exact same thing happened that you said, Sophie, all the comments were talking about couple
Yep.
goals. All the
Yep.
comments were talking about
I'm
how you
telling
guys
you.
are amazing, dream
Yep.
team, double trouble, and all of those things in an attempt to, I think, claim him for herself, but also just put her mark on him to the world, you know?
Yeah.
But in terms of if I would ask someone to delete photos of their ex, again, I'm like Sophie, I haven't actually run into this issue, and namely because most of the guys that I have dated have been personal on social media, so they've just put like pictures. They wouldn't even put like pictures of their family, just pictures of whatever they're doing creatively, and that's it.
Of course, they were creative, Luanda.
They always will be. They always will be. Like, you know, they always will be. Let's be honest. But I think I'd only fall with Anissa if the pictures were kind of, I guess, chill. Like, I don't know how I'd feel if I saw pictures of you, like someone's like you jumped on you and you're holding them, or you guys are kissing, and that's a good picture.
Well, this is the thing. This is what's interesting, then, guys. Because let me with Luanda, you'll take more good pictures with Luanda.
You guys,
but guys, let me get your idea on this, because I think I was reading in Elite Daily online, and it was saying that sometimes the pictures can stop someone from moving on, because whenever they're feeling down, they can look at the pictures, and what the pictures do on social media, which is true, are only going to remind you of the good times. And it's very easy to fall into that trap when you've broken up with someone, to forget about all the bad times. So do you think that the picture staying up is someone showing that they're not actually ready to move on yet? Or do you think it's just a memento?
I think it depends on the individual, if I'm going to be honest. Just because if you have reached a point in your breakup where you know, do you know what, it's just not working, and you are satisfied with that, you are no longer with this person, and this truly was the best decision, I think you won't be swayed by romanticizing a picture to be like, did I do the right thing, if you're solid in your decision. But I think if you have questions and you're still unsure about if this is the right thing to do, anything can really tip you over the edge, to be honest. I'm like hearing a song that reminded them on the radio, you might be like, oh my gosh, it's a sign. Like, anything can tip you over the edge. I really think it just depends on the individual.
Okay, so I, as you guys may have seen so far, I'm quite an emotional human being, and I definitely understand what the article was saying about the emotions that the pictures will elicit within you when you see them. And I had this person, I don't want to go into details because I don't want him to know that I was pressed over our breakup, but there was a person.
It's normal. It's natural. Like, it's natural to be upset when you break up.
Eliza does not want to give him that kind of time and energy. So
But this is what I'm talking about. It's just a natural reaction. Like, if you're not upset when you broke up, for sure you should have broken up. But the majority of people feel away.
Exactly. But go ahead, Leander. Tell your truth.
I hear the concept, however. So what it was that I didn't want the pictures that we had together, first of all, were great. They were great pictures. Everyone looked 10 out of 10. A lot of them were in golden hour, good images, landed in the favorite, keynote. But I'm like, on my camera roll, I don't want to go on my camera roll and accidentally see these pictures. So what I did was I put them in an email with the email titled his name, and then deleted them from my camera roll, because I don't like deleting memories, and I didn't want it to be deleted forever, but I didn't want to keep accidentally seeing it, because the same thing was happening to me, like you said, Sophie, just remembering the good memories. And of course, if you've captured a good photo, pictures say 1,000 words, and the emotions that you were feeling when you took it and all of those things, like I just didn't need to keep reminding myself of that. I wanted to get over him. And since emailing them to myself and knowing that they're there if I ever want to see them, I've never searched for them. I've never gone on Gmail and looked for the pictures. I've never looked at them again after sending them and after deleting them. But I think it's because I know that they're there, and if I ever want them, I can have access to them. And now I'm over him.
Oh, well done, Wanda.
It's a sweet day when you don't care anymore.
I don't think I've ever taken pictures with a man, guys. This is because you're not talking about pictures with the partner. I'm thinking as I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking, I've never really taken the pictures with a partner. I just have never been. yeah, I just have never been that interested in doing it. Now I'm just like, maybe I should be taking pictures.
Do you know what, Anissa? I can't wait for you to fall in love and fall hard. That's what I'm waiting for.
I have fallen in love before, but I didn't feel like I needed a picture. I just was like, oh yeah, cool. Sorry guys,
I don't know what to say to that.
I really didn't feel like I needed a picture, but I enjoy everybody else's pictures for sure.
No problem.
Yeah, but I don't think, I actually come to think of it, I think the last time that I've actually posted like a couple's photo was years ago. I haven't, like Anissa, like I haven't done that on social media in so long. I think I was really, well, it wasn't even a couple's photo. It was my boyfriend that I had when I was 17. We both had our like faces drawn. And so the picture was just like of our faces.
Are those caricature things?
Ages. No, like a normal one, because I hate the caricatures. I really do. It was like a nice, normal, pretty sketch. And so it was a really nice photo, and it was a really nice day, and it was a really nice event, but it wasn't anything like how you see those posts and it's like 5 years of my baby, you know, confessing the love, you know, so it was fine for it to stay up, and I didn't think much of it, and it wasn't doing the emotion thing like the photos with the other guy was.
And I think for me, like I said, I think this whole pictures and things like that, I think it really takes away from showing the realness of what relationships are like, because I don't see anyone posting like the difficult times. And I'm like, even though with my husband, like I try to keep the pictures of him very limited on my Instagram feed. Like we'd have to do something really special. Like we're in another country, we're at a big wedding, because I don't want to become one of those people that post every single time with him, because I feel like relationships just aren't always the best time of your lives. Like they're hard work if you want them to sustain, and the longer that you're in them, you have to really work, because it shows you who you are and the parts of yourself that really need work. And I think that's my biggest issue with the way that we're all over couples these days. Like it's something that everyone should aspire to. And I just wish, I don't want to see no one having an argument with their boyfriend on Instagram, but I just feel like the pictures sometimes are just too much. Like sometimes I just roll my eyes, because I'm just like, oh gosh, here we go again with this person's just like love of my life. Couldn't live a day without them. And I'm just like, oh,
you know what,
like, honestly, it's not me. It's not me.
You know, when we had the PDA conversation on here like a couple of weeks ago, and we were all saying, you know, sometimes it seems that couples that aren't doing well go overboard with the PDA. It sometimes feels that couples who aren't doing well go overboard with the social media posts, because sometimes it feels from friends that I have known personally, and I've been around the couples and I know what the relationships are like most of the time, it feels like they are trying to prove something, and a lot of people that I know would rather be in an unhealthy relationship just to say that they're in a relationship than be single or do the work, like you said, Sophie, to make an actual healthy relationship work. And a lot of the time with this Instagram age, people choose people for aesthetics instead of actual human connection. They're like, you'd look good with me in this image. Shall we go on a date, but just take photos the whole time?
Look, if you're having a great time, you don't always have time to take pictures. I wonder at people who take pictures every single place they go, because I'm like, if you're in the moment, sometimes you're like, man, I wish I caught a picture, but I was just having such a good time. So
that's why when people like take pictures and it's like, oh my god, like for me it's just like, is this truly the best moment of your life? Were you truly in the moment of the best moment of your life, and you thought, let me get out my camera? Because that is not the reality for me. The best moments in my life happen off of the internet, and I don't have to put it on the internet to prove it to anyone, period. So that's why I'm like, no, I don't really take pictures of me and my partner, and I wouldn't really put him on my social media, because if I'm really enjoying him in the moment, I'm kiki and having all the enjoyment, you know, having a good time. I'm not thinking, let me get the camera. Like that's just not how I'm thinking. So that's why I find it bizarre. That is all. But if you like to take pictures and that is your thing, and you want to have pictures of you and your ex on social media, then that's fine as well. You do what you need to do. Each for their own is what I've learned.
Amen. It's true.
Okay, so we have reached about halfway through the show. So if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and make sure you comment down below. So far we have spoken about whether financial settlements can ever serve a role in justice, and also whether we would keep an ex's pictures up on social media. What I actually want to talk to you ladies about is periods, and I'm not talking about this kind of period, I'm talking about our womanly flow. So according to various charities, the number of women and girls facing period poverty has risen sharply during the coronavirus lockdown. So women are unable to afford or gain access to sanitary products, or have resorted to using items such as newspapers, toilet paper, pillowcases, socks, and even tea towels. The Chancellor confirmed in March that the government will scrap controversial tampon tax and abolish the VAT on all women's sanitary products from 2021. However, getting your period is not a choice. So should sanitary products actually be made free in the UK? And can the growing range of alternative sanitary products, from moon cups to period pants, help fight our period poverty?
Absolutely. Absolutely to all of that. Yes, is the answer. Sanitary products should 100% be free, not just for people who have periods in the UK, but for worldwide, for global, for Earth, for Mother Earth. Sanitary products should be free for everyone. When I was, I think, 11 years old, one of my male teachers at school said something to me. He said, what kind of world do we live in if we make women pay for sanitary products? And I was really a child. I'm sure he even said this to me before I'd maybe even my first period, but he said that and it really stuck with me. So when I learn about period poverty and things like that, and I hear about women having to use any materials that they can find to bleed on, it makes me sick. Like, I think that is horrific. I think that is a humanitarian issue that we need to fix. Yeah. And I'm grateful for the progress that we're making with the tampon tax, because for anyone that doesn't know, prior to this, the reason why there's a whole tampon tax issue is because the sanitary products was described as a non-essential luxury item. Because luxury items essential items do not get taxed. And something that doesn't get taxed is razors, like beard razors for men, because that is more essential than a sanitary towel, apparently, according to our VAT laws. So I find that absolutely ridiculous. I think we need to start working towards making sanitary towels accessible and free of charge for every single person who has a period.
I think for me, I don't know if I'm actually here for them being free, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Jump through this.
Yeah.
I know, right? I know.
But why?
I think for me, I'm happy for sanitary towels to be charged based on, like, maybe your income. So let's say, for example, that you're someone who has a really good job or whatever, then I think maybe there should be a kind of cutoff point for people who are lower income and who can't afford them. Because I think that the amount of women that they are, like, I think it would become very expensive. And what I would think is that if they became free, would they take down the quality of the sanitary towels? Like, where's that money going to come from? Our government is stretched already. We can't get money for things. And how else are we just going to have to pay for this? So for me personally, like, if it came to it, I would be happy to pay for sanitary towels, or have to pay a little bit more if it meant that someone who was on a lower income could get them. Because I think when we think about the period towels, sanitary towels, and what we want to be, I lost it there for a second. Yeah. And what we want to be available to people, I'm really thinking about the people who can't afford it. And I think it was only this year, literally, earlier this year, that I realized that people literally in the UK are not going to school because they haven't got sanitary towels. Like, I've worked overseas before and I've seen that, and I know it's a problem, but I had absolutely no clue that it was happening in the developed world, and it's unacceptable. But I'm here for it being free for people who need it the most, and if people can afford it, to take the burden that it would probably put onto government and taxpayers.
See, I think I'm going to meet you guys in the middle here.
Right.
Okay?
Luanda's ready to jump on me. She is ready for me.
Yeah, Luanda's bursted. So I'm giving her some
She's
time
ready
to
for me.
simmer. It's okay, Luanda. Put a pot on that lid and simmer it for a moment. Put a pot on that lid. Put a lid on that pot. Okay, so... I meet you guys in the middle here because what I thought is I think it should be free. I'm just going to say that. However, I think that if you wanted a particular brand, then you can have you can go and buy, I hate to say it, but a luxury brand if you wanted to. So I think as a staple, everyone should generically have a free towel products for everyone, so everyone has access. Now, if you wanted something a bit more bougier and fancier and you could afford that, then that is what you can go and buy. I think it's the best way to kind of keep it fair because it would be everyone gets access, but there's not as much of a burden, I guess, on society. But then at the same time, the reason why I need it to be free is because period, as I said, is not a choice. It's absolutely not a choice. It is just, personally, I feel like a lot of things that are not a choice should be free. Like, I am visually impaired, and I personally don't believe why I should pay for contact lenses and glasses because I didn't choose to be blind. But that's neither here nor there. So my point is, it is really frustrating for me because even though the tampon tax has come in and that is a big win for us, the VAT has actually only gone down from 17.5% to 5%. And when I was reading it, it basically meant that we saved 7 pence on a box of 20 tampons. So over our life, we would save £40 altogether. Then I kind of sat and thought, oh yeah, lovely. I've got to live for 50 years so I can save £40. That makes do you know what I mean?
That's a lot of periods.
Exactly.
It's a lot of periods.
And I won't even be on my period the whole time of the 50 years. That would be the craziest part. So for me, it's not enough, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm happy for the tampon tax for it to be reduced, but it's a small win because in reality,
it doesn't make that much difference.
The 7 pence can't even buy you something to eat. It makes no difference, really. So if we're saying, okay, we're reducing this, so for people who are on lower incomes, they're not impacted by this. Actually, the 7 pence makes no real difference to them, really. They don't have it. So we just need to make sure that everyone has fair access to it.
Yeah.
Especially
All right, Luanda, I'm ready. Luanda, I'm ready. I'm ready, Luanda. Come for me.
How do I swim through this? Okay, I'm done. No, Anissa, I was actually going to say something really similar to what you said because I was going to, responding to what you said, Sophie, about what would the quality be like. I think that there should be a basic sanitary towel that everyone has access to. And then if we wanted to buy a tampon because you might be wearing a thong, or you might be going swimming or something like that, or get the period pants or the moon cups and the organic cups and all of those things, then we can pay for them if we want them. But a basic sanitary towel should be available to everyone who has a period in every country of the world. And if we want to talk about money, 2 weeks ago or last week or whenever we talked about the royals and we talked about how, everyone...
That 85 million!
Where are you going, Luanda?
No
She's like, that needs to go on periods.
There we go. We have, listen, a lot of things are paid for through tax. And if we talk about including like a third of the incomes from the royals, and we said that £1.24 out of every single person in the UK's pocket goes towards that. And we talked about, hey man, I'm sure this could be used for a better cause. This is it. We can actually afford it. This is why I said I get frustrated when we have these communal issues, these things that affect a large amount of people, like 50% of the population. And then we think, do we have enough? We do. We have the money. It's not going in the right directions. So I think if we can afford to use our taxes for bus travel and things like that, like we can definitely, which is essential. And then we can afford to use it for sanitary products, which is also essential. So I think there shouldn't be anyone. I was reading these stories of people saying, oh, I was leaking because I was using tissue and someone was using tea towels and things like that.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting that we allow women to be in that position. It's just disgusting. 100%. And to be honest, you guys have really changed my mind on this, to be honest. Like, I'm
glad.
Yeah, you have. Like, I like the idea of the basic being available to everyone. And then if you want something more. But I guess for me,
Don't hesitate.
do it.
What is it, Sophie?
Don't do it.
Have you guys seen basic sanitary towels? I feel like every woman should have access to Always. And I think every woman should have access. That's my thing. Do you know what I mean? And that's why
Always should be the basic.
I've seen basic ones. Like I used to work in a hospital some years ago, and the ones that we would give out were thick enough to capture, I don't even, like 10
With
cocktails. They were huge, huge. Like they're sucking up all the water in the Thames. They were thick, guys. And I feel like every woman should have access to one that is going to be upmarket and really make her feel comfortable and this and that, even especially if they can't afford them. Because I think we have this thing when people can't afford things, they should just be happy for the basic. And I don't believe that. So that's why I'm like, I'd be happy to pay so that everyone can have access to the same quality sanitary towels.
And I'm going to chime in there as well, Sophie, with you on that. I also want to say for my women in prison, that also I think they need to start getting more fairer access to sanitary products, because I was watching this prison documentary this week because, you know, I'm a big prison docu person, and the women in the prison, basically this was 2016, so it is a long time ago, but still not a long time ago, but they were only given 2 sanitary towels a month per person. And I thought to myself, in what world does any woman exist on 2 sanitary towels for their period? It was the most shocking thing to me. And it's once again, it's because this sanitary towels and feminine hygiene products are seen as like a luxury when actually it's an essential. And it was actually heartbreaking to watch the women.
Where did they think it goes?
And the worst part of it all was some of them were actually not even using the sanitary products because they were using the pads to cut them open and hide drugs. It was horrible. The whole thing was horrific.
Do you know what? The thing is, we wouldn't be in this position if men had periods. We wouldn't be.
Yes.
If men had periods, you would have high quality sanitary towels blowing out of the sky. They would just be everywhere because men don't get it. Because literally, true story, my husband will go shopping. I'm like, I don't like to go food shopping, to be honest. I find it extremely boring, but my husband loves it. So when he goes shopping, I write the list and I'm like, here's a list, babe. He's like, yeah, gonna go get it. I'm like, sanitary towels. He's like, again? I'm like,
sorry, I don't want to be Sophie. I'm so sorry. I'm actually really sorry.
I was just like, it's every month. Like, what are we missing about that, babe? It's every month. And he's just like, but they're so expensive. I'm like, yeah, because I like to have a range. Do you know what I mean? I like to have a range. And he's just kind of like, what's the difference between the purple and the pink and the literally, I'm like, FaceTime me when you get to the aisle because you're going to pick up the wrong thing. But my point is, if men had periods, we wouldn't even be talking about this. They would just be like, of course it has to be free. I don't have a choice about it.
The woes of living in a patriarchal society.
Honestly,
I'm telling you.
And I feel like there's so many layers. Guys, I want to confess something to you. And
oh my gosh,
yes,
I'm scared.
Confession, I want it.
I hope that I get it. I hope that I don't get in trouble because there's no evidence.
Oh my gosh.
So
oh my gosh.
Fine. But you know, okay. So when I was younger, I went through this phase of just taking things that I believed should be free. So
the one that's called stealing. That's actually the definition of stealing. If you looked it up in the dictionary.
She wants to abolish the police. She wants to do things freely. She wants to do it freely.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I need to pause and drop my camera.
That is too funny. That's because the lies and the shadiness have caught you out, Luanda. Not even the camera can stand still for the lies that were coming this way.
I'm sorry, Luanda.
Oh man.
We better see that in the episode, guys, because I want to see that camera fall down from the dishonesty that Luanda is trying to bring.
Myself. It's just crazy. I'm glad it's not feeling well today.
Okay, so while Luanda gets that kind of set up again, I wanted to talk about, because when we're talking about like the alternatives, like moon cups and this and that, guys, honestly, I had to go online to see how you actually use and insert a moon cup. Like, same. I actually had no idea. And when they said that over 200,000 tons in waste fuels is from sanitary products every year, they're like, even when we start to think about making things free, we need to start thinking about being more eco-friendly now. Because 100%. They're like, we need to start thinking about moon cups, about period this, period pants, but
Sophie.
Carry on, my love.
What was I saying?
You were talking about stealing when you used to steal sanitary towels.
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry. When you believed things that whatever.
Yeah. So things that I believed should have been free. Sometimes it was water. But one time I actually came on my period, and I was in a very male-dominated environment. So it's not like I could just, like nudge a sister and be like, do you have a pad? So I left and said that I needed to get food, went into a shop and repurposed the items for benefit of myself, because I was bleeding and I needed something. And I know that it's kind of funny because you guys are all imagining me as I am now, trying to like stick it to the man and things like that. But actually, I did not have any money. I didn't have any money to buy this item, so I had to take it. If I had, £3-4, I would have just brought the whole pack. But I didn't have any money, and I didn't have anyone and I didn't have anything on me. I didn't have anyone to ask. And so I just had to take it. So I think we actually do need to think about what happens when you need something like that. And for me, I've only had, like I said, that experience, which has only been one experience in my whole life. So I'm very lucky to be mainly on the other side of things. But the reality is there are so many other people who have periods that it's not the best time for anyone, every 28 days anyway. But then if you can't even contain yourself when you're leaking, I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine what that would be like.
And I think, I'm so glad you shared that story, Luanda, because that's just the realness of it. Like every woman who's had a period has either leaked on her period or felt that she did, or started her period at a time when she thought she probably wouldn't have, and then you're worried about this and that and
paranoid.
Exactly. And I don't want to, what I think we first need to do is take away the stigma from periods, because there's so much shame surrounding them. I know, like when I was younger, I had so much shame about being on my period, and I went from a predominantly black school to a predominantly white school in year 5. And, black children in general hit puberty earlier, and I hit puberty earlier, and just that feeling of, is my period going to come, and being fearful that no one else around me was going to have one, and feeling like I didn't want to have it, and what did it mean, and your body's changing. And one of the things that they're saying we need to do is take away the stigma of people making jokes about girls being on their period. They're saying the statistics are so high that girls have this as a joke, and it's like, actually our body is making room, and it's cleaning itself, and it is clearing away a wall to say that there's no pregnancy this month. Like, our body is a beautiful organism that is doing things that, fair enough, we don't have really control over, but is doing amazing things to keep us running and to keep us well and safe and to keep our uterus working perfectly. And we have shame around it, and we shouldn't. We just shouldn't. We shouldn't have to feel ashamed if our period starts and there's men around to say, actually, could someone give me some money because my period? No problem, Luanda. And we don't have that. And that's one of the things that we need to do when we start talking about period poverty and making things accessible to people.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's so true.
I don't keep stuff private. Well, not that I'm going into details, but even when I'm with my male friends, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my breasts are so sore today because my period's about to start. Like, I just keep it as normal as possible, because the reality of the situation is, at any stage of a man's life, they're going to encounter a woman in close contact, whether it's their mother, their sister, their daughter. Their periods are going to be as much part of their lives as it is part of the woman's life. So it's about normalizing it and not being this thing that we hide from men. No, because I feel like we hide it from men, like we do it in private and we don't say it around them, or we say, oh, my time of the month. Like we dress it up so that it's like hidden from them, and that adds to the shame. And we just have to say it. I mean, we don't have to go to gory details, but we can just say it as it is. I'm on my period. This is happening to me. And I think that will help to reduce some of the stigma.
The stigma,
But I
I
think sometimes
agree.
the adverts don't make it better, because you see them always adverts where like, you can climb a mountain, or I'm wearing this short white skirt and playing tennis and I can conquer the world mountain.
Yeah.
And I know they're trying to counteract the shame, but I'm like, I've never met a woman in my life who wanted to climb a mountain when she was on her period. Maybe you have, but I just find it so unrealistic.
Well, this is the thing. I think in talking about it, like I saw an advert where I can't remember what they were selling. I think it was talking about an advert for women getting involved in exercise, and one woman was getting dressed in the changing rooms and you saw the string hanging from the tampon. I was like, oh my gosh. And my husband like, what? I'm like, they just showed the tampon string. I was just like, stuff like that needs to be on television to kind of normalize. Like, it is so normal. If you're a girl going exercise, chances are one of those times you're going to be on your period. So, and I think we need to have these conversations, because now that we're talking about period poverty and things being accessible to people, we also need to start having the talk about how much waste is made from sanitary towels. Like, I had no clue. They're saying 200,000 tons of waste in waste fields every year is due to tampons. Yeah. And if we're not even going to make sanitary products free, how are we even going to get onto the topic of actually we need to be moving away from sanitary products and using moon cups and using reusable or eco-friendly or organic? Because I've had a period for the majority of my life now. And I have never used a moon cup. Guys, I had to go online to look at how to insert a moon cup, because I'm like, I obviously know it goes in the uterus, but I'm like,
inside,
how?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm 33 and I was just kind of like, I was like, I've never seen this before. So
I want to stop waste, but I'm not going to lie, I won't be with the moon cup. I'm just not going to lie. I want to stop waste, but I'm not going to be with the moon cup.
So what would you be open to then? What would you be open to?
If they found a better way to recycle actual sanitary products, the ones that I use now,
what about period panties, Anissa?
How do period panties work? How do they work?
So basically, so first of all, I just wanted to say that the moon cup, like when it came out, it was one of the first new inventions for a woman's period in like over 50, maybe more than 50 years. So when I read that, I was like, that is crazy. And if anyone is actually thinking about sustainability, the organic cup, the moon cup, that is the direction to go in. In terms of period pants, so it's not like a swimsuit material, but it's like a cross between a swimsuit material and a normal underwear. And it's like a built-in pad in the underwear, but it's really secure. So you actually can climb a mountain and play tennis if you want, and you're not going to leak. And there's different levels that you can get if you want to get like, I want to get heavy or I want to get a light one. And actually there's been quite a few, like elderly women that have started to use it, because, you get to a point sometimes in your life when you can't control your bladder. And so that's been really helpful. And there's no like smell, there's no leaking, there's no like, personally, I think it's great.
My question is, do you get more than one, I'm presuming? Because after a while, you're going to have to put on a new one, right?
That's the thing that I don't get. This is where I'm confused. If it goes into it, then there's no. I don't
because obviously you're still going throughout the. Yes, this is what I'm confused.
But it doesn't press. You're not. How does it absorb without leaving any residue? If you're a woman, you know what I'm trying to say.
No, but for me, my question. I have a second question that you can ask both of you guys now. So, say for example, you've had this underwear on for 4-6 hours. Now it feels like, how do you get this out so you can have a fresh bank again, if you will? This is the question I have.
Okay. So firstly, you wouldn't feel it at all. So if you've been wearing it for 1 hour or you've been wearing it for 4 hours, you don't feel it at all.
Okay.
And just like how you wear underwear and then you wash them and then you wear that same pair of underwear again, it's the same thing. So if you want to, every time you're on your period, wear period panties and not ever wear pads, then that's fine. Then like you asked Anissa, you're going to need to get more than one.
Okay.
But you wear it and then you rinse it out and then you do a cold wash and then you hang dry. So it is a process after you've used it, and that's why I said the organic cup is going to be the most sustainable and the most convenient thing. Once you can figure it out to get it, once you can figure out how to get it.
I know people that use the cup and they say it's actually so easy to use.
Yeah,
they haven't convinced me yet, but they're like, oh my gosh, once you do it, you won't ever go back. But I don't know.
I think I'm going to try the moon cup. I'm going to say it live on Ethnically
Yes.
Speaking, so you guys are going to have
Yes.
to hold me to it. But
Sophie,
I want to try and do something that's a bit more sustainable so that I'm not having to buy products all the time. And something that's eco-friendly.
Sophie, get the organic cup. It's like
Okay.
it's the same thing, but it's organic. You know me, I'm
That's
a
the
hippie.
tutorial.
Also, if yes, and also if you don't like it, like you can get your money back for it. So if you try after they give you like a 3-month period, and if
I really hope they don't recycle the cup.
I don't think they can do
Oh my
that.
gosh, Sophie, I don't think so. Don't finish me, please.
I don't think legally they can do that at all. I'm sure that's
I would pass out.
That is so funny. That is so funny.
I would just actually pass out. Well. So clearly, I think that we've already established here is that periods are definitely not a choice. So therefore, they shouldn't be treated like a choice, and we shouldn't be classed as luxury, non-essential items, and more as essentials. This is what we need for our everyday life. So our periods are not a choice. But one thing that is a choice is our partners. So actors Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, you guys know them?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Well, I only know Catherine. I need to figure out who
I was going to say I need a reminder of who Michael is, but I know that he's really famous, but I forget.
Oh my days! You make me feel so old. He's like a huge actor. Like he has
in
done.
what movie?
What's he been in?
Are you kidding me?
Do you know this is
guys, and his dad was a very famous actor as well, Kurt Douglas. His dad was like in
Could you just
Spartacus.
name a couple?
Could you name a movie?
Could you name
He was
in.
He was in the film with Demi Moore called Indecent. No, it wasn't Indecent Proposal, but it was
You
one
said
about
Demi Moore, and I've never watched a movie that she's in.
Same. I only know her because she used to be married to Ashton Kutcher.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, moving on. Actors Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are soon to celebrate their...
Basic Instincts with Sharon Stone. He was in that.
I don't know
No,
these people.
he was in
I've
another
heard of
film with Glenn Close, and she was playing like the famous stalker, the bunny boiler. If you've heard that term, that was from a film that he was in.
Oh, yes.
Every film
yes.
is based on
Okay.
it. So yeah, he's big time, guys.
Right. Okay.
I haven't watched, but I will watch afterwards.
Thank you.
So actors Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are soon to celebrate their 20th wedding anniversary. With a 25-year age gap between them, their marriage flies in the face of those who believe in that a relationship between two people at significantly different ages cannot work. When it comes to dating, is age nothing but a number? And do you have an age ceiling or a floor that you wouldn't go past when dating?
Well, actually, guys, I can actually bring some second-hand personal experience to this one. Because my parents were actually 20 years apart.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh
They're
my
20 years
gosh.
apart when they got married. Obviously they're still 20 years apart. I don't know where I was going with that one. Yeah, they didn't catch up to each other. They're still 20 years apart for everyone listening and watching. It didn't work out. It ended in divorce, but it wasn't because of their age. And so for me, I can see that it can work in circumstances. But for me, I wouldn't do it because I feel that the generational gap is too big. That would be the thing that would really get me about dating somebody who...
Like when someone doesn't know who Michael Douglas is.
I mean, girl, it's a real thing. And that wasn't even 20. Well, in fact, it might have been 20 years ago. But exactly, that's exactly my point. We've just given you the example. I think that I would want someone who not that we necessarily share the same music, but at least we both know who certain people are. And I guess more so, I'm talking about stages of life because my husband and I don't share the same musical interests. So it's not always down to because you're in the same generation, you're going to have everything in common. But we both are going to be wanting probably children at the same time. And we're going to be thinking about our careers maybe at the same time. So I think from that aspect, I would think that I wouldn't go any higher than 6 years older. And to be fair, I've always liked older guys. I always have.
Would you go younger or no?
My husband's
not now,
actually,
of course. I mean, just in.
Yes, like I told you, he's only getting rid of me through death. But I think
Loves that energy.
My husband is actually younger than me. He's younger than me by a year and a half, and it's not that much. But I never would have considered someone younger before him. Like I never did. Every guy I dated was either the same age, but majority they were older. 6 years probably was the maximum. And I always liked that because I felt like I was a little bit of an old soul. So I felt like we were kind of on the same level, but I'll come on to that later. But I think if I went younger, I think probably no more than 4 years, and they would probably have to be mature. Like I'd want a guy who was mature. Like if you're younger and you're mature, then it's not an issue. But because a lot of men, not all of them, mature a bit later, I wouldn't want to be dating a child.
Okay, that's fair. I think that like the issue is that as women, we always just think we need an older man because we think that men are immature in general. So a younger man is just like never going to get there. But I was reading an article of people with an age gap, and the older person said something like, the thing that helped our relationship a lot was me not thinking that I knew better because I was older. And I'm sure that we can all testament to the fact that there are a lot of older men with juvenile brains. So sometimes the age thing doesn't always make a difference. I mean, I remember when I was upset over someone that I dated because they were doing a lot of immature things. And then I eventually just ended it. I said, I'm not going to see this person anymore. And I was talking with my mom about it because I was upset. And she was like, well, you know, you need to date older guys. You need to do this. You need to, 3, 4, 5 years. And I said, he was 5 years older than me. But, my intellectual junior. So sometimes it doesn't.
Oh my God. Sorry. The way you phrase that.
Sometimes it doesn't always make the difference that we want it to. So I kind of had the same thought process as you, Sophie, but now I'm at the point where I have just decided to take people as they are. And I'm open to someone older, I'm open to someone younger, and I'm open to someone my exact age, Yeah.
Do you know, I think that's a good point because the guy who I dated who was like 6 years older, he's... I don't think that he was probably very mature. And my husband is younger than me and he's the most mature man that I have dated. So you're completely right. I think different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, but have you also not noticed that a lot of older men who notoriously date younger women date them because they are at the same maturity level of them?
Yeah.
So if you're like a 40-year-old man that constantly dates girls in their 20s, it's because mentally and in your life, because you talked about stages of life, Sophie, like mentally and in terms of stages of your life, you're still there. You're in your 20s. You're acting like you're in your 20s at your big age, which is why it makes sense for you to be dating people who are 23, 24, 25 years old. Obviously not always the case, but most of the time we're always talking about an older man and a younger woman. And it's a lot more taboo for it to be the other way around.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me, I like to usually date people that are my age, like specifically my age. That is usually
I think
that's
so odd. It's so odd. Literally.
I don't know why,
but the things that you say.
I know, right? The exact age.
I like to be honestly. Like I can do. You were born in 93 because I'm 94. You were born in 93, but you were like the tail end of 93 I can do, but if you're a 94 then I'm cool. Anyway, so I like people who are, because for me, in my mind, I just feel like we're in the same exact place at life, so we get to experience these things together, and so that's usually kind of like my gist. I go back and forth about would I date older, would I date younger, because there has to be, I would, but there would be asterisks on all of them. So for older, I couldn't see myself going more than like 3 years older. And I don't want to go any higher.
That's the same age bracket.
Yeah, no, guys, I feel like 1 or 2 years still makes a massive difference. I'm still saying 3 years, like I could go 3 years older. I don't want to go past 3 years because then you're going to be at a different stage of life for me. And maybe it was cool when I was 18 and we were kicking it and XYZ, but now that I'm in an older age, if you are older than me, then don't. If you, I know what you're about to say, but I'm saying,
Luanda just wants to just say no, Anissa.
No, you're not. but I am Levi Duck. So now, if a guy is significantly older than me, he is definitely in a different stage in his life. He may start to think about settling down and may want kids and things like that. And that's just not where I'm at. And so I don't want to be in a situation where I have to feel rushed to do anything. Like, that's not what I want to do. And notoriously, I have found that older men who have dated younger women, in what I've seen just in regards to friends and family, it's usually a bit like a control thing is what I see the older man doing. Yeah. And that's not really my portion. And so I just can't. And yes, so for me, not really. But could I date a man who's older than me more than 3 years? Yes. The asterisk comes is, it depends on how much money he has. And then that is when I can say yes for sure. And I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. Because if he doesn't have a lot of money, then I wouldn't. But if he does have money, then that helps the situation a bit. And that goes for younger as well. Typically, no for younger men. But if he had money, it's a different conversation.
Anissa, you just rip up your feminist card right
guys,
now. You take it and you burn it, and then you throw the ashes in the bin. Because
when people have money, they get all crazy and think gold digger. Let me explain what I mean.
Okay.
If you
just keep digging, digging that hole, keep digging it.
Yeah, gold digging. And listen,
I'm done.
If you're older than me and you're significantly older than me, yes, I expect you to have money, because I expect that at this stage in your life, you have some sort of assets, you've been able to manage your money well, and you are financially comfortable. Absolutely. I don't want to be picking up no old man that ain't got his life together. That just sounds ludicrous to me. Like, why would I be doing that? And for a younger man, the reason why I'd have to have money is because you may be at a different stage of your career to me. And if, for example, we got together and then I got pregnant, but you're working a job that can't actually support both of us, then what am I doing? I'm not going to lay on my back to have some big-headed child that I'm going to have to now live in poverty and suffering for. It just wouldn't happen. So I need you to have enough income to where both of us, if I so happen to have a child, that I can be able to still live a comfortable life and your income can support us both. So yes, you have to have money. That is all.
So if they're the same age as you, how do they not need to have money now? Because if they're the same age, then it doesn't matter?
No, if you're the same age as me, you still need to be financially comfortable, but I don't have as much of an expectation as I would if you were younger or older. Like, if you were my age, but you're still like pulling yourself together, I'm not going to be like, oh, you ain't got no money, bye. But if you were older and younger, and then I start talking to you and I find out you don't really have it together, it's an automatic no. So you get more leeway when you're my age. That is all.
Girl,
it's almost
confusing.
As if you're young and you have lots of time to sort your life out.
Almost. But
can I ask you guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the oldest and youngest in terms of years that you've gone up and that you've gone down so far?
I've gone one both ways.
6 up and down?
Yeah, I mean, when I was 17, I dated a guy who was like 10 years older than me, but that was me trying to think I was grown. And he was extremely immature.
And they love it.
Yes.
Love
it.
Because
when
you're a girl in school uniform who thinks she's smart and thinks she's 18 when she's 15 and okay.
Yeah, like we went on like a few dates, so thank goodness it didn't go anywhere. And I think now that I'm older, I think that you touched on it, Anissa, the power dynamics. The power dynamics are all off. Because as young girls, we feel like we're older than we are sometimes. And when we talked about cuties, I think it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and when young girls are sexualized so much when we're younger, we start to want to be older than we are. So we're teenagers 100%. Who are 14 wanting to really be 16 and date that 18-year-old guy because it's always put on like to be more sexually alluring the younger that we are. So when I was 17, I dated this guy because I felt I was grown. And now I look back, I might have been maybe 2 years more mature than a 17-year-old, but nowhere near to be dating some 27-year-old guy. Like, not even. And I think that's really came to my mind when I don't know if you guys saw about Marcus Houston.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes.
Who is 38 dating an 18-year-old. And my thing
engaged
is
to
like,
a 19-year-old.
They're married now.
Guys, like,
married. There we go.
Look, I'm all here for big age gaps. Like I said, my parents are 20 years apart, but my mum was like, a consenting adult at like 28, 30. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right.
Yeah.
my thing is, when you're dating a young woman who's like 18 when he started dating her, even though I believe he dated her younger, but that's alleged, so it's not fact. I believe it. Sophie believes
Alleged.
it.
Sophie's
Exactly.
suspicions.
Sophie's suspicions. Exactly. I like that. Sophie
That
suspects. Sophie
could be a
suspects.
Sophie
detective show.
suspects that it was maybe a little younger.
But when they're 18, this woman looks older for her age. She could easily pass for 10 years older than what she looks. And I'm just thinking, when a man who is in their 30s wants to date someone who is a teenager, she is a teenager. I don't care how grown she looks in her body, how mature you say she is. She's not mature on your level. You cannot time jump mental maturity. You can't have the experience or the life experience or gone through things that a 38-year-old has, unless you've lived a very hard and difficult life in 18. And even then, that's probably still not somebody you should be with. But I think that because we sexualize girls so young, it seems okay to date a teenager because they look like a woman, but I'm just like, but mentally they're not. And I have such an issue when men do it and then they try to make out like it's okay because she's barely an adult.
I hate it, and I think that's what puts me off older men, Sophie. Just remembering like being a teenager, and I've always had a baby face. I have visibly always looked young, and the fact that older men would still have the audacity, they have no issue. It just freaked me out. Like, it was just disgusting to me. I cannot.
I think my only issue would be, I'm not really super on board for young marriages anyway. And I actually genuinely believe that we need time to find ourselves. And I was speaking to my friend recently who got married in her early 20s and then was divorced in her early 30s. And it's because you're still evolving as a person. Obviously, we evolve for our whole lives, but you can't make such a big life decision when you're going to grow rapidly in these years. Like the growth between like 18 and 30 is like
huge.
Especially for a woman. Especially for a woman. Especially for a woman.
You look back now to like early 20s and you're just like, the people who I dated, I wouldn't even look at them twice in a shop 5 years later. So
I wouldn't even date the people I dated 2 years ago.
Yep. Exactly.
So, it frustrates me because I see a lot of the time, because most of the time, typically, like we said, it's the older man and the younger woman. And I see a man who's been able to live his life. He was young. He's had all this freedom stage. He's had the uni stage. He's had the messy, like, going to work and being drunk and going to work and being drunk and finding yourself. And he's done that. He's lived his life. And he, like you said, Anissa, like now at the point where they're ready to settle. And then the young girl gives all of their prime years to this person who was able to have their prime years to themselves. And that's the thing that that makes me feel like, have we completely thought this through? Because I really think that everyone should have their teenage years to themselves. Everyone should have, the majority of their 20s to themselves. If you don't want to have kids, don't have kids yet. If you don't want to get married, don't get married yet, because you're allowed to have this part of your life as, I don't even want to be corny and say self-discovery, but it kind of is what it is, And so I think when you're in a committed relationship, you always have someone else to consider. When you have a child, you always have someone else to consider.
Someone
and I think we're so
first.
quick. Yeah. And we're always so quick to throw the years where we're allowed to be selfish away on other people who already had that. So you get to have that and I don't. No.
I agree, Lavanda. But I will say, just to point out, that some relationships with age gaps do work. Obviously, we've done work with and Catherine Zeta-Jones, Sophie's parents. I don't know if you guys watch any of the Housewives, but a lot of the Housewives, their husbands are like 20 years older than them, and they're in wedded bliss still after 20 years of marriage. It's beautiful stuff.
I'm not looking to reality stars for relationship advice, and it ain't gonna happen.
Just as an example.
I think Anissa's point is that if you're mutually respectful, if you're willing to work on your relationship, it can work. You just have to be equals at it. Whatever age you're at, you still need to be equals. So, with that being said, we've come to the end of today's episode. Guys, I've had so much fun today. We want to thank you guys for watching and listening to another episode of Ethnically Speaking. We've loved every minute of it. We hope you have too. And if you have, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. but help us to keep the conversation going. So we want to know, when it comes to age limits and dating, how high would you go? How low would you go? Please let us know your answers down below in the comments. And if you want even more from us, be sure to subscribe to our email list for access to Extra Ethnic, which is a special segment specifically for our Ride or Die fans, and it's only available exclusively via email, and the link to sign up will be in the description. If you want a summary of everything we've been talking about today, head on over to unitedmelaningroup.com/ES016. The link for that will also be in the description. If you've been watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, of course, and click that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Of course, we're going to be rocking with you again the same time next week. But until then, we're saying stay safe and stay alert.